options for you at the start of the day. Honey? Scott? Hey!
Huh?
I have something for you. Molly, darling.
Hi.
Did you have a nice nap?
Not long enough.
Well, get down to business. I was just going to let you know that I went to the store and these were the last 2 kits that they had available, so I bought both just so you had a decision or you could make your own decision.
Thank you.
But for me personally, I like the wood duck best, but that's your call, so you decide.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I think I like the green wing teal. You can't tell me what to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little intro video. We threw out a couple of ideas, but one that had won out came from a comment that was made at a show. Jokingly, I hope, they were saying, "Where did you get the paint by number kit?" And so we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with it and tie it into the creating a painting for an entry in the Federal Duck Stamp competition. So now this next piece of video that you're about to see is a step-by-step glimpse at how I approach creating a painting. In particular, this one is an entry for the Federal Duck Stamp competition. For me, it's still the #1 and the most prestigious art competition in the country. And with that, let's take a look. All right, so the first image here, we'll start blocking in stuff. And that's the furthest in the backdrop. In this case, it's the sky and the clouds, and just the basic overall tones. The next step, blocking in the next level of tones with the clouds. It's at this point that I use an older brush and softly blot or dabble the paint in, just kind of feathering it in. Use different degrees of pressure and rotate the brush with your fingers as you're painting and blotting. So I do that so I don't leave a pattern. At this phase, it's a little more of the previous step. I feather in some of the same color tones, plus a little more brighter yellows. You can see kind of a little more pink in there. And then at the end of that phase, I also use the airbrush, and I use the same mixtures that I was using so that there's no deviation in tone. And just soften the edges, and this further pushes back the depth. And as you can see, I'm using a little warmer tone. At this point, now we've got the sky pretty much hammered out. I draw in or trace, sometimes over a carbon paper, my design sketch. I use some of the major or even all of the design elements. In this one you see obviously the pair of ducks, the hunter, and the start of the tree line, basically the base at the edge of the water. Since the trees are the next in depth, I lay in the base color, and with the tree lines I usually start with the darkest value or shadow color. Again, some of it is kind of it's a mixture between painting a little detail with a fine pointed round brush and also a little bit of blotting or feathering. Using a combination of drawing in, and with that I mean by a fine point paintbrush, and dabbling texture, I start developing the leaves and the trees, branches, and the first layer of cattails. Now in this next one, again using a fine pointed brush, I subtly, in a horizontal stroke, laying in the water reflections. Because the overall atmosphere of the reflections is a little softer, more pastel, I use a lot softer in color value here. First with an airbrush, using some of the base color that I used in the sky, I use a very minimal airbrush spray over the top of the whole tree line. This softens it and pushes it back. Again, just trying to create a little bit more depth, and you'll see that the ducks will pop tremendously. And then I also paint in the next level of cattails. First, pick up my airbrush again, just a little additional mist or fog coming out of the water, and on top of the second layer of cattails. This creates a little more depth between those cattails and the backdrop. Now secondly, I paint in a monochromatic way just the base layer of the hunter and the decoys. Now I wash in some color into the hunter and decoys, just subtly, warmth and just a hint of some of the color on the decoys. Add a bit more highlight to the hunter and decoys. It's just a little bit more color into some of the detail areas of the cattails. Now I lay in the initial detail on the hand. I always paint the subject in monochrome. I don't want to have to worry about any color yet. I just want to worry about detail, kind of the shadowing highlight areas. Now I go back, hand again, working on that next level of detail. No color worries yet. Now in this you can see between the slide before and this one, I didn't quite like the tail and how it was looking on the hand, so I kind of turned it a little bit with the body. I looked through a lot of reference and changed based off of anatomy photos that I've got of other females flying. And then I also gave the hand a very light yellow wash. Now I block in the base on the drake. Again, mostly monochrome, with the exception of the greener areas of the head and wing. Okay, now I'm laying in the first layer of detail. And now, again, there's a couple rounds. I didn't put independent slides of this, but I'll have several rounds of putting in the detail on the drake. Especially with green-winged teal, they have a lot of vermiculation, a lot of different subtle details, mainly in the body feathering. Also, as you notice in the hen, I did the first color wash. Now I add the highlights to the hen and a warm tone wash to the drake, a couple of additional warm washes to the head. Add highlight to the drake, just in the detail, and wash in the blues and the greens. Warm and yellow wash to the isolated smaller areas, and also some additional highlights. On the main subject, I go back and forth from adding and redoing detail to wash. How many times? I guess all I could tell you is until it's done. Might be multiple times, it might be one time, it really depends. Concentrating on the head and the secondaries of the wing. A little more detail, some more blues and green washes, and for the first time a little red wash on the head. Really get that to pop. And it might be multiple washes on both those areas. Guess what? More detail, more localized washes. On the hen, I brighten the greens on the secondary wings. One more time. At this point, it's pretty much done, and I like to put the painting out of sight just for a while, which could mean a day, could mean a week, depends how much time you have. And that's, of course, if you have time. So now we take the final look. Take it out of storage, take a very hard look at it, consider contrast, depth, colors, anatomy, and probably the biggest question is it working? And what I mean by that is it some of it's gut feeling, but you have to keep in mind that you're competing against a lot of the best people in the country. And so really what can put you over the top? Is it something that stands out from your competition? Now if it isn't, you do have time to start over, or trust me, I've started over twice. It's actually paid off both times. But you have to remember that anything just a little bit out of whack can mean the difference between winning or not. The only thing I decided to change was the little area of the sky above the drake's back. Just a little bit of blending, I felt, just to create some little bit more contrast, soften the sky, and using this, it adds to the contrast, the lights, darks against the neutrals, and that's what's going to help you give that pop or the 3D quality. It's done, but I decided to set the painting aside and start over. With what? The wood duck, and this is the one I submitted and won the 2019 Federal Duck Stamp. And that's how the Federal Duck Stamp is born. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed stepping through the process of putting paint on a board. And it's my thought that hopefully in the not too distant future that we can do a few more of these in process or how-to videos, maybe in a little more detail. Please feel free to contact me if you found this of some help, entertaining, and would like to see some more. Or if you think I should just stay behind the easel and paint. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Now please enjoy the closing clip. And as you saw in the first video, I think I feel a nap coming on. So take care, and we'll see you real soon.
Hey, hun, remember we've got to get those orders out today.
Okay.